Welcome to another RaiderPower Mailbag. I'm Jared Johnson. I'm happy to say I'm not a solo act this time. Joe Yeager, our senior writer, is joining me. Joe, glad to have you.
Thrilled to be here.
All right. We're going to jump right into your questions. From Syntex wants to know, do any of the QBs other than Webb look any good in spring? And the practices have been closed for the most part. So, but Kingsbury did say that Tanner Tausch from Kilgore College is running with the 2s, and that Mike Richardson from Marble Falls is running with the 3s, and said that Tausch looked pretty good. But he didn't really want to expand on that. That's pretty much where he left it. Joe, I know you've written about them in the past. Who would you like to see kind of emerge as the backup coming out of spring, and why?
Well, actually, I was hoping to answer his funeral question or his cemetery question, because we're going to have to dig into that, so to speak. Yeah, back to the question at hand. I think it's really a case where Tausch is going to be the guy for a while, for the simple reason that he's a JUCO guy, a little older, more mature, and he's played more recently. I mean, Richardson has been out of action for a while. He's going to have to take some time probably before he can get back into the groove. So I think it's going to be Tausch for a while, and then hopefully, for Tech's sake, Richardson will begin to make a little bit of a move later on in the fall practices.
Yeah, and of course, everybody's hoping that Patrick Mahomes, the 2014 signee from White House, that he makes it to campus, and even as Kingsbury said on National Signing Day, that he becomes number 2. TechNote wants to know, this next question, TechNote wants to know, does our running back situation look like it is improving? Well, Note, I know this is a hot topic with you, but it's just really early in spring. But I think, with Kenny Williams moving over to defense, I think what they're saying is that, in fact, Kingsbury did say that Q White looks better, and that he's getting a lot more reps. I think they know what they have in Kenny Williams, and that DeAndre, his knee is a lot healthier this year than it was last spring. What do you see in this whole situation, and are you excited with the idea of Q getting more reps?
Yeah, definitely. Clearly the fact that they're even letting Williams get a look on the other side probably indicates that they're liking what they're seeing from Quentin White. And most of us who saw him last spring were also pretty excited with him because he's an exciting guy with the ball in his hands. Really looks explosive, a hard guy to get on the ground. And I think everybody is kind of supposing that what was keeping him out of action was the fact that he wasn't a well-rounded back, i.e. pass blocking, perhaps receiving. And if you can't do all that stuff at running back at Texas Tech, you're not going to see the field. I don't care how well you can run the ball. So apparently Quentin White is picking things up, and that's good.
I know there's been a lot of talk about the spin move. Is that legit? Because I wasn't here last spring, and what do you think about that whole notion?
Yeah, well, I think that was probably blown a little bit out of proportion. There were people who were sort of furious with Coach Jinks, saying, well, how can he forbid the spin move? That's nuts. I don't think that's quite what was happening. I think basically what he was trying to do is get the point across that he didn't want a guy tap dancing around in the hole. He wanted a guy who was going to take it up in there strong every time. And probably Quentin White was not doing that. Doing the ballet stuff isn't going to work. So, again, this is probably an area where he's made some improvement.
All right, next question. This comes from R.C. Ryder Jr. With such a large signing class of DBs, does Tyler Middleton stay on defense? Do we see Tyler Middleton staying on defense? Well, I talked with Coach Curtis last week, and, obviously as of right now in spring, he's one of the 4 corners right now that's actually getting reps, that's healthy and, getting the reps. So, yeah, I do. I think he has the athletic ability, and I think the problem isn't with bodies on offense, it's on defense. So I definitely see him staying on defense and at corner. What about you, Joe? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree, and I think that you made a very good point in the fact that he's already in the top 4 right now. I mean, there's a lot of cornerbacks on this roster. I mean, there's Newbold, Bagley, and I don't know, several other guys there. And the fact that he's already in the top 4 indicates that they think a lot of the guy. And he's got the speed. Everybody knows that. He's got the athleticism. He's got good size for a cornerback. And sometimes these position switches work out for the best. So, yeah, I see no reason why he didn't have a shot.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, with the speed and athleticism and everything, Coach Curtis said last week that all the potential is there. He has everything that's necessary to be a good corner, but it's just new to him. I mean, and it's probably a good thing he's getting so many reps this spring. Next question comes from Tech 2010. Are Brothers Morales good to go at O-line? If the answer is no, when will they be? Well, that's a good question. I spoke with Coach Hayes just a couple of days ago up at the facility and asked specifically about Tony. He said he's been doing the non-contact stuff, but he hasn't been able to go to hit yet. But that he expects him to be full bore, to be ready to go by the end or after spring break, which is good because they've had a lot of injuries with the center. Castor's been out. Balaam Brown, who's been considered the backup, either the 2 or 3, when he's not obviously probably starting at guard. And then Morales is supposed to be, Tony Morales is supposed to be in the mix. So it would behoove him to get healthy and get in there and try and impress them and, try and get that starting spot. Joe, what do you think? I know that, Tony Morales has kind of been a sore spot for everybody. He's a 4-star guy. I covered him in high school in Arlington, and he hadn't panned out because he's been injured. Well, what's your take on Tony, and what do you think?
Yeah, well, who would have thought when these guys signed that Alfredo was going to be the guy who was going to be the player out of the two? But that's not a knock against Tony. I mean, the guy has been hurt. We don't really know what he can do. How many live snaps has he played at Texas? He's been here. It's not been a whole lot.
Yeah. All right, and the last question is another one from Tech Note. He wants to know, where is our pass rush coming? Joe, I'm just going to kick it right over to you. Let you start off with this.
Yeah, well, we were talking about it earlier. It's probably not coming from the defensive line. Yeah. Unless Brandon Jackson is not a bad pass rusher, and I think he can be a guy that maybe will get you 6-7 sacks on the season, which wouldn't be too bad. But really the linebackers are where you need to look. Pete Robertson is a guy who I think has tremendous talent. And I think I said to you once, I thought he's got a potential to play in the league someday. Yeah. If he has that potential, then he's going to be a guy that's going to be bringing it from the edge quite a bit. Alway is a guy who I really, really like. I think once he gets into the swing of things and you start seeing him play a lot, he's going to make some big plays, and a lot of those will be in the pass rush. So, but overall, from the linebacker positions, is Coach Wallerstead's going to be bringing it quite a bit.
Yeah, I totally agree. They focus on D-line, bringing the big space eaters in JUCO to first stop the run, and then, obviously want to stop the pass too. But I think they got tired of giving up 300 yards a game to, down the stretch on the ground. And that's going to do it for us. Joe, I really appreciate you joining me. I really appreciate y'all joining us, and we'll see you next week.